Today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. The origins of Satan, Lucifer, Prometheus, and what it means for religion as a whole. So, we're going to go over origins of Satan, the Bible, Prometheus, the Lightbringer, Lucifer deal, other myths, and satanic rituals and cults. So, first off, we're going to go over a logical alternative thesis, which is number one, if Lucifer means Lightbringer and he brought knowledge to us, what does that mean? So let's take the belief system out of it for a second and just look at it logically. If someone risked their life or status to do a favor for someone else over threat of great punishment, what would you think of that person usually? That they were bad? Good? A hero? What was the favor that they did? Bringing knowledge? Bringing light? Having obtained a higher state of understanding, which is known as enlightenment? We read, study, learn, grow, evolve, train, and listen. All the things we attribute to positive growth is equated with enlightenment. School, art, music, meditation, Zen, mastery, wisdom, patience, intelligence. These are all things that Prometheus and Lucifer were accused of, and did so at great risk of the other higher gods around them. Number two. Now, Einstein was famous for his thought experiments. So today I want you to do a thought experiment with me. We're going to create a hypothetical scenario. It is said that Lucifer gave us the means to have technology, society, culture, many of the things that we today consider to be social norms and uphold on high as the foundation for our society come from this knowledge, farming being the first and foremost. Without it, we never would have gotten out of the Garden of Eden. We would have been dependent on the god of El or Yahweh, which are actually two totally different gods, but we're not going to get into that right now. And the same goes for Prometheus. Without him bringing fire down from Mount Olympus, we will be living in perpetual darkness forever. Now, which sounds like hell to you? So one must ask the question, if our society is founded on such things, how good can our society be? Assuming all of this is true, and all the biblical texts fully admit it to be true, then can our society be justified in extolling the virtues of the noble farmer, the astute astronomer, the studious scientist? Is this the reason for all the world's problems? Is it really all that simple? You see, there's no such thing as God-given talent, because God never gave anyone any talents. His purpose was for us to remain within the Garden of Eden at all times, and he supplied us with everything that we would ever need. We were never supposed to branch out on our own. So the alternative question is then, if society is good, then why did the gods not want us to have the information? There's a little paradox there. Does that make them, the gods, bad? Or did we just get caught up in a war as innocent victims in the middle, assuming that there are gods in the first place? Which I'm not saying that. This is just a thought experiment, once again. So we're caught up in the middle of this eternal conflict that goes on forever. And once again, why are we being punished? Well, we know that God is a jealous God. It's said so, it's admitted as such. And in the Christianity religion, he is projected as very jealous, and he wants everyone to die, go to heaven, and get on their knees and worship him forever. That's the end game. And if you don't, he'll burn you for all eternity, even if you didn't know about him. And his method of doing that is, well, you're supposed to know my word. What is his word? Well, through the Bible and the book. But there are many people who can't read or wouldn't get the Bible or wouldn't know the book existed, and then the book gets edited by humans, and that's a very flawed system. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't download the right file at the right time, so my computer has to get a virus and crash. What? It just doesn't make sense. Jealousy is not something that I would associate with an all-loving and caring father. And it seems like if somebody is sneaking out of the house to deliver information to the children to say, hey, look, this is what these people are really like, maybe that's not the bad guy. Because maybe he's also been a part and a victim of that abusive relationship. Most parents would not treat their children that way and say, you either do and worship and obey me at all times, or if not, I'm going to punish you without forgiveness forever. Period. There's no coming back. Most human beings don't behave that way. That goes for Prometheus, Zeus. It's the same way. Zeus, Hela, all those gods, they were all very jealous, and they turned people into all kinds of creatures and snakes, and look what happened to Hercules and the trials. Look at what happened to Persephone and going down into Hades. The Greek mythologies are much less known, and they are longer to get into, but I'm trying to keep it mostly to the main characters, the popular ones that people know about. And there's a lot of rape involved, and trickery, and people taking human forms, which happened in the Bible. The Nephilim and angels coming down and supposedly, sleeping with human beings. All the stories are all very similar, and I think that's just because we come from a singular language, which is a Proto-Indo-European language, and so we all come from a single belief system, which comes from Perquanos, which was the original storm god, and you can trace Vishnu, Thor, Zeus, Yahweh, El, like any storm god comes from Perquanos, basically. So that's why the Tower of Babel story has some sense to it, because everybody's spread out from those people, which were quite possibly the Yamnaya people who first cultivated or broke in horses. So that's something to think about. And then as time went by, we have organized religious influence and control. And it starts with shamans. And in the very early days, there were women that were highly in charge, which is why when it comes to the Western world, we see that, El and Yahweh, they were married. You have Asherah being the wife. And if you look on the clothing today of a medic, an EMS person coming to get you, there is a staff with a serpent around it that means EMS, healing, health. And they would pray to Asherah for that and give offerings to her, and her grave would be right next to Yahweh's, right next to the father of Jesus, which would be the mother of Jesus. And they were married, and they had a son named Baal. So there was already a son before Jesus came around. So the story has been changed and edited as time went on, and as time went on, they removed the shamans and installed priests. They got rid of the women. They erased the wives. and they changed and edited the families to put their people in charge so that you have the narrative that you have today. And now it's all been flipped upside down. So that's why I say it's important to do these thought experiments and think, number one, if you want to believe in fairy tales and magic men in the sky, that's one thing. But number two, you got to do that thought experiment and say, okay, assuming it's real, you can't just automatically assume that one side is good and the other is bad. If you truly pay attention to the stories, history is written by the victors. And many times the victors are the conquerors. And Yahweh was a warrior god. His people were known as the Shasu. And everybody hated the Shasu. They were known as brigands because they were taking everybody's land. That's the first time that his name pops up. So they thought that the land of Israel was their land. And it's still being fought over today. And that's why you have so many wars fought. So put two and two together, and then you say, well, why do people hate Semitic people? Why do people hate Jews? You can jump from one to the other just by looking at the history of religion. It's not that far of a leap to think if there is any truth to any of these myths, which I do think there's some truth in them, but I think it's been so far lost and twisted and gone that most of it's bullshit by now. But if there's any truth to it, I would think that the hero would be Prometheus. The hero would be Lucifer. And everything around us was given to us by them. And the bad guy is the guy who's threatening you, saying, if you don't do what I say, I will fucking burn you forever. I don't like being given ultimatums. Most people don't. And usually if somebody has to give you an ultimatum to love them, they're not worthy of love to begin with. So any quote-unquote God that needs to do that is a pretty weak and stupid one to begin with. So these were probably just kings or powerful people at one point in time that got turned into legends, that got turned into myths, that got passed down. And today we're twisting it all up. That's why we already know Easter has nothing to do with Jesus. It's Easter. Eggs and rabbits come from a female fertility goddess. And Christmas has nothing to do with Jesus either. He wasn't born on that day or anything like that. So that's another Roman pagan holiday. Comes from cult of Mithras. So we can go on and on about all that other stuff or debate it, but at the end of the day, think very clearly, because even if there is a power out there, whatever it is that you're worshiping and practicing, you're probably a heretic, and whatever that God is, he's not very happy with you today. So it would be better off doing nothing and just acknowledging, like, hey, whatever you are out there, I'm sorry, I don't have the correct information, but I acknowledge you. And then don't do anything else. That's your safest bet. Have a good one.